Hello. In this training video, you'll be shown how to add access to the two STEERS programs that relate to Tier 2 reporting in Texas, the Tier 2 core data and the Tier 2 reporting applications. You should have already created a personal STEERS account and followed the instructions in a confirmation email to set your account password. If not, you can find guidance on completing this on the general training video titled Creating Your STEERS Account. To begin, you will log into your STEERS account, going through the different security precautions before landing on your STEERS homepage. This page will list the different program areas that you have added access to on this account. To add access to new program areas, you will navigate to the My Account button at the top of the page, which will take you to a page that shows your account summary and STEERS access sections. The account summary lists your identifying and contact information as well as the current account status. If you have just created your account, you will instead only see the STEERS access portion. For our purposes, we will begin by choosing the Tier 2 core data program from the drop-down list and hitting Go. You will be taken to the Tier 2 core data access page where you will select the desired access type and the necessary authorizing statement. Looking at the access type drop-down bar, you will see 4 different access roles: read only, edit, prepare, and sign. Each of these roles carry different authorities in the system, with each higher level also including the permissions of lower roles. If you'll be needing to create, sign, and submit a Tier 2 core data application to create or affiliate TCQ ID numbers, you'll need to select the sign level of access. If any other access option is selected, you will require the participation of someone with a STEERS account that holds a sign authority role in Tier 2 core data to complete an application. After selecting the appropriate access type role, you'll need to mark whether you represent the facility or the parent company, and then mark one of the authorizing statements. If you selected the sign access type, you'll need to select either the second or the third authorizing statement. The second option will give you a blanket authorization that does not require approval by a third-party STEERS account, while the third option will require you to be granted access by whomever owns the STEERS account with the information you entered. If you selected option 2, you do not need to fill out the text boxes under option 3. Once you have marked the desired options on this page, you can proceed to the Add Access button. At this point, you should see a notice in red text that your access has been updated, so you can now return to your account summary page by selecting the button on the top menu next to the STEERS Home button. Under the STEERS Access section of this page, you should now see the Tier 2 core data application present under the current program area column, with the notice that it is currently on a probationary status. At this point, you can sign and submit a STEERS participation agreement, SPA for short, to take this program off probation, so you can complete a Tier 2 core data application, or you can proceed to add your customer number under the Tier 2 reporting application and have your SPA cover both program areas. If your facility RNs have never been affiliated to your CN and TXT2 numbers, you will have to complete this prior to adding the Tier 2 reporting application. See the Tier 2 core data training video for guidance on creating and submitting a Tier 2 core data application. We will now be proceeding under the assumption that your facility RNs are properly affiliated and are central registry database, so you should be able to successfully add your CN in the Tier 2 reporting application. Like how we added Tier 2 core data, you will select the Tier 2 reporting application from the drop-down list of STEERS program areas to add an ID. On the following page, you'll need to select which access type role you will require, choosing from the Prepare, Secondary, and Primary roles. Both the primary and secondary roles carry full sign and submit authorities, with the main difference being that the primary role can only be held by one STEERS account at a time and carries the ability to approve the access of all secondary and prepare role requestees. Since the primary role can only be held by one STEERS account, you will want to coordinate with any others that will need to have access to your customer number in the Tier 2 reporting application to decide who will hold this administrator role. If you select the primary role and are approved, you will overwrite and revoke the access of whoever was currently holding that role. Alternatively, if you select the secondary role and no one holds the primary role, there will be no one to approve your request for access. Once you've decided which role to request, you'll need to select the appropriate authorizing statement. Both the primary and secondary roles will require you to select the second authorizing statement that provides for sign and submit authority. Finally, you will see the Tier 2 IDs to add section where you will enter in the CN you will be submitting a Tier 2 report for. You can enter multiple CNs at once, and once you have done so, you will select the Add IDs and be taken to the confirmation page. You will want to review the listed company name to ensure that you mark the correct entity, and then you will confirm the addition. At this point, you will be taken to your Tier 2 reporting ID list, and you will see that the CN you just added is present with its status marked as probation in red. To take the CN off probation, you can navigate back to your account summary page to submit a steer's participation agreement. Back on the account summary page, you should now see the Tier 2 reporting as a selectable program area in the current program area column, with the number of CNs you have added under the IDs column. If you have any IDs currently in a probationary status, there will be an additional column showing the number of IDs. To convert probationary program areas to active, you'll need to submit a steer's participation agreement in either a paper or electronic format. If you have a valid Texas driver's license, you can use the eSign SPA feature to verify your identity and submit your SPA. Alternatively, if you are out of state or do not have a valid Texas driver's license, you'll need to generate a paper SPA and mail in the original signed copy. At this point, your Tier 2 core data application is ready to use, but you'll need to wait for secondary approval to be granted for the Tier 2 reporting application. If you selected the primary role, then you should be approved by TCQ staff shortly. But if you selected the secondary or preparer role, you must be granted access by the holder of the primary role. You can always check to see who holds this role by selecting the Who Else Has Access option on your list of Tier 2 IDs accessible from your Steers Access section. You have now added the two Steers program areas that are used in the Tier 2 reporting process. Proceed on to the next training videos covering each individual program area for continued guidance.